Starting with the very first problem here, we're working with parallel lines and transversals. So we want to figure out some information about this figure and which of these statements is true. Well, the first thing that we want to do is fill in any missing angles that we can, just because, we don't know all the information. So these three angles here are supplementary. So this would have to be 60 and 40 is 100, 180 minus. So 180 minus 100, so this is an 80-degree angle right here. Now 60 and 45 is 105, so this angle here, 180 minus 105, which is 75. Okay, well, if we're looking at that information alone, BD being perpendicular to DE, oops, well, wait a minute, this is a triangle, 60, 40, that's 100, so this would have to be 80 degrees. There we go. All right, so for those to be perpendicular, this would have to be a 90-degree angle, which it's not, so we take that out. CB perpendicular to BD, so this here, this would have to be a 90-degree angle, which it's not, so we can take C out. Now we're debating between BD being parallel to ED right here. Well, BD and ED intersect, so these two intersect, so they can't be parallel. That's not even an option, so that's gone, leaving you with D, so CB being parallel to DE. Now here's really ultimately the reason why is because angle ABC is congruent to angle BED, and they are, oops, not alternate, they are corresponding angles. Okay? And that's why those are parallel. All right, number 2, line A is parallel to line B if, and you're looking for one of the 4 relationships. So you are looking for alternate interior, alternate exterior, corresponding, or same side. Whoa, I don't know what that was, sorry. Same side interior. These are congruent, and your same side interior is supplementary, which I think is already on your paper anyway. I'm just adding it to this pile here. All right, so angle 1 congruent to angle 4, those are vertical, which has nothing to do with parallel lines, so it is not A. It's not, it has to be one of these 4 options. 1 congruent to 7, well, 1 corresponds to 5, and then, like, could they be congruent? Yeah, maybe, but it wouldn't have anything to do with parallel lines. 1 and 6, so 1 could correspond to 5, and then again, they could be congruent, but we don't know. And then 1 and 5 being congruent, that one right there is the reason, and the reason is because they are corresponding angles and they are congruent. Number 3, which value of x will show that these lines are parallel? Well, if those lines are parallel, these are alternate exterior angles. And if they're alternate exterior angles, they are congruent. And congruent means that they are equal. So we take our 2x plus 30 and set it equal to 4x minus 90. Solve for x, you get 30 equals 2x minus 90. Add 90 to get 120 equals 2x, and divide by 2, and you get that x is 60. And all we're doing is solving for x, so A is our answer. Okay, now number 4. Point P is here, and we are looking for points that are on the line parallel to line M. Well, parallel means same slope. So if we make marks on this line here, and then cruise down till we cross the center again, so right here, the slope of this line, the rise is 2, and the run is 3. And remember our Mr. Slope guy, so his little face, this has a negative slant to it. So the slope of line M, oh my gosh, I can't write M's today, weird, is a negative 2/3. So we want the slope of this line to be exactly the same. So we're going to do a rise of 2, up 2, and over 1, 2, 3. So this point would be on the line, and this is the point -1, 4. Now we would go up 2 again and go over 3 again, 1, 2, 3. which is the point -4, 6. Now when we start back at P again, we can go down 2 and over 3 in this direction, which would be 5, 0. And those are our only options because after that, it goes off of the graph. So it is not 0, 1. It is not -2, -4. -4, 6. Oops, nope, that one is an option. So that is 1. 0, 0, it is not. 5, 0 works, and -1, +4 also works. So we want it to be parallel, so we use the same slope. So our slope has to equal a -2/3. All right, number 5, we have 3 lines here, and we have line D going this direction, and it cuts these 3 lines to form the angles that you see here, 105, 85, and 95. So the question is, which of these 2 lines would be parallel based on these measurements? Well, if A was parallel to B, that would mean this 105 could slide down to here, and that these would be supplementary. Well, for A, 105 plus 85 is not 180, so A is out. Can't be that one. Now as we go down to B, we have line A with line C. Well, the 105 would slide down and be directly on top of the 95, so 105 is not equal to 95, so it can't be B. So we take that one out. From here we go to B and C, so we have the 85 here. Well, this would slide down here next to the 95, and because they are a linear pair, they would have to equal 180, and as a matter of fact, they do equal 180, and so that would be your parallel lines. Those would be your parallel lines, B and C. Now number 6, we are looking for lines, and here are their equations, and what are their what are the relationship between the 2 lines? Well, if we have y equals 1/3 x plus 12, we know that the slope is 1/3. And remember, it's your y equals mx plus b. Our second line here, 6y equals 2x plus 6. If you divide by 6 to get y totally by itself, 6 divided by 6 is 1, leaving you with y. Here you get 1/3 x plus 1. Well, the slope here is also 1/3. And they have equal slopes. Well, if they have equal slopes, that means that they are, in fact, parallel to one another, which means they can't intersect. The lines don't tell us anything about being a segment. If anything, it's a line. And then perpendicular would be negative and reciprocal, so it's not that one either. All right, now number 1 on the angle relationships sheet. We have some, just basically it's a lot of vocab and making sure that you understand the vocabulary. So in number 1, we have angle E and angle F are supplementary. So that means right here, whoa, let me try that again. So that means the measure of angle E plus the measure of angle F equals 180. All right, so the measure of angle E is 54 more than the measure of angle F. So if I make the measure of angle F equal x, let's say, then the measure of angle E would be 54 more than that, right? So 54 more than this measurement. So all I'm going to do is take measure of angle E, which is x plus 54, and then x equals 180. Combine your like terms, 2x plus 54, that's not a 5. What is happening to me today? I cannot write. Holy cow. All right, subtract 54 from both sides of your equation. You get 2x equals 126. Divide by 2, and you get x is 63. But the question is asking you for the measure of each angle. So to get the measure of angle F, it is x, so we'll say it's 63 degrees. And the measure of angle E is going to be 63 plus 54, which is a total of 117 degrees. And so there would be your 2 angle measurements. And you can check it by making sure that they add up to 180 degrees, which they do. All right, number 2. And this one is the measure of an angle supplement. So this right here means 180 degrees, supplementary. 76 less than the measure of the angle. All right, so we have two angles, the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2, and I'm gonna go ahead and rewrite that. Measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 is 180. Well, the measure of angle 1, let's say that's x. Sorry. Okay, really sorry about that. If the measure of angle 2 is 76 less than the other one, that means angle 1 is bigger and measure of angle 2 is smaller, so you subtract the 76. So angle 1 is x, and angle 2 is x minus 76. So here's angle 2 and here's angle 1, and together they equal 180. So we get 2x minus 76 is 180, which means then when you add 76 to both sides of your equation, you get that 2x is equal to 256, and then you divide by 2 to get x is 128. So one of the angles is going to measure 128, and the other angle is going to be 128 minus 76, which is a total of 52 degrees. So that's where that one came from, and there are your two angle measurements. All right, number 3, find the measures of two complementary angles. So that means they're adding to 90. The measure of the larger angle is 12 more than twice the smaller. So two angles, measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equals 90. One angle is going to be x, and the other one is 12 more than 2 times the other angle. And now we just put our information in where it belongs. So there's our angle measurement substituted in. Combine your like terms. 3x plus 12 equals 90. Subtract 12 from both sides of your equation to get 3x equals 78, and divide by 3 to get x is 26. Now to get both of your angle measurements, you substitute it back in. Well, the measure of angle 1 would be 26 degrees, and the measure of angle 2, you would take 12 plus 2 times 26, which comes out to 64 degrees. All right, number 4, rays AB and BC are perpendicular. So two things, B, B. So that is where they cross one another. So this is B, here's A, and C. And they are perpendicular, which means it makes a right angle when they cross. Point D is in the interior, so D is somewhere in here. If the measure of angle ABD is 3r plus 5, so I'm going to connect this, and this would be 3r plus 5 here, and DBC is 5r minus 27 here. Well, together they make a right angle. We don't know if they're equal or not, but we do know that when you add those measurements together, you will get 90 degrees. So we get 8r minus 22 equals 90. You need to add 22 to both sides of your equation. To get 8r is 112. Divide by 8 to get r is 14. So the measure of angle ABD, you plug it in here. So 3 times 14 plus 5, and that comes out to 47 degrees. And the measure of angle DBC, 5 times 14 minus 27, and that comes out to 43 degrees. And there's your two angle measurements for this problem. All right, number 5, we have angle ABF. So I'm going to draw ABF here. So A, remember B is your vertex, and F goes here, and then BE bisects the angle. And so if that bisects it, then these are two congruent pieces. So if ABE is 2n minus 7 and EBF is 4n minus 13, then they have to be equal to one another. So 2n minus 7 equals 4n minus 13. Subtract 2n from both sides to get negative 7 equals 2n minus 13. Add 13 to both sides to get 6 equals 2n, and divide by 2 to get 3 equals n. Plug it back in. 2 times 3 minus 7. That doesn't make any sense, because that would be a negative 1. Something about that is weird. I don't know what happened, but since I'm running out of time, we'll figure it out once we get into class and we'll finish up the rest of them together.